Before I bought my Newport 30 sailboat, it was repowered with this Universal Westerbeek M320B. It's a 3-cylinder diesel engine. And at some point, the transmission started slipping and failing. And so this video is about me replacing a ZF5 transmission with a brand new PRM60 transmission that I got from Harbor Marine. So we're looking at the back of the Universal Westerbeek here with the ZF5, or I think it's a Hurth 50 transmission. This is the transmission that's slipping. And behind it, of course, is the shaft and a pretty big gap here. You know, this is like 4 or 5 inches, and then the PSS shaft seal, which looks a bit crusty and old. And so the plan is to replace the transmission in place in the water. So we're just going to disconnect this, slide that down this, and then we're going to bring the new transmission in and see how much room there is for it, really. So I just bought a small transmission called a PRM60. I just got it in the mail today, and we're just going to see what's in the box. I got this from a major dealer of marine supplies, and so one of the things that they did at their transmission shop was they designed the bracket for the shifter for this thing. So I've got that. All I need to do is get some metal stock. This part should be pretty easy. It came with the manual, of course, and a couple of other bits of paperwork, and of course the transmission itself. So this is the transmission. The face here actually is such that it will drop right in place to whatever adapter you had for your ZF5 or your Hurth 50. So that's nice and convenient. And the number of splines on here is the same. So everything here should be a drop-in replacement, at least as far as bolting it onto the engine goes. And the drop, which is the vertical distance from here to the middle of this thing, is just slightly deeper. It's, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch or something like that. And then the length is also just about the same amount longer, about a 1/4 inch longer. So we should be able to put this, to just fasten this onto the engine and adjust the height, and then adjust the position of the prop shaft further back just slightly, dealing with the seal and stuff like that. And it should all just fit in pretty easily, given that we have enough space in our engine compartment, which is a detail about my boat that we're going to find out about later. So the shifter's on the opposite side from what it is on the ZF5. I don't have that here, so that's in neutral, and that's in forward. Yes, that's in forward. And then on the other way, that's in reverse. Okay, so we also got one more thing, a thing that commonly needs replacing, that should probably be replaced when you replace the transmission, and that's this damper plate. So this, I don't know which way this goes on just now, but this damper plate goes onto there, and it absorbs vibrations, you know, torsional vibrations, using these springs from the engine, such as from the cylinders firing. So yeah, looking forward to getting this in there. So you're wondering what this costs. So this was $818 American. This was $150 or $146 American. The shipping from Everett to Vancouver was $54. The freight insurance cost $480 for 1,000 American in freight insurance, and the total care of delivery import charges to pay were $185 Canadian, not American. I took a few videos of the next 40 or 50 hours of transmission installation, but it wasn't really worth making a comprehensive edit of the whole installation. By the time I took this video, I had already removed the old transmission and replaced the damper plate, paying careful attention to the engine manual and the torques that I was supposed to use for the damper plate. And here I am about to do some butchery of the iron stock that underlies the engine. And this will be to make room for the shifter bracket that's going to go on the other side of the new transmission. By this time I've made the workspace a little bit more comfortable with an extra cushion, and I'm ready to try the angle grinder out. Looks like there's something funny about the way I'm holding it at first, because I was surprised by the kickback. But pretty soon I started to get the hang of it and made a sizable notch in the iron that turned out was much needed later. Here I'm getting out of the locker in order to try grinding from above. Fighting with the space that I had to work in was one of the themes of this job. At this point I've finished the notch in the iron stock, and I'm just preparing an opening so that I can bring the new transmission into the space. The video makes this look a lot easier than it was. When I found out that the notch I made in the iron stock was indeed large enough, I was really glad I didn't have to bring the transmission through the opening more than once. You can tell from the placement of the GoPro camera on my head that I'm reaching pretty much as far as I can and resting my cheek on the exhaust manifold. This clip goes on for several minutes, but unfortunately at the end of it I still haven't managed to get the new transmission onto the splines. I ended up making a little cradle from webbing so that I could support the transmission while concentrating on getting it on the splines instead of holding it up. Okay, looks like I've finally got the new transmission onto the splines, and here I'm just starting to assess how much deeper of a drop it has when by looking at how the coupler meets the other half of the coupler on the shaft. I got my dad to write down our estimates of how much deeper the drop was on the new transmission so that we could have a ballpark idea of how much to raise the engine. The next step was to make some marks with a paint pen on the motor mounts to mark their original positions so that I can later measure how much I've raised each one. And of course we did raise the engine. We used a come-along for this, suspended from the boom, and we raised it very slowly and carefully. Once we had the engine lifted, I made a few quick reference measurement tools out of some aluminum stock and a paint pen. Getting into the workspace was only half the battle. Seeing what you were working on was just as difficult sometimes. Here I am using my phone camera to discover that one of the motor mounts looks like it's been beaten to death and has no threads left. We ended up having to shim this one because we couldn't turn the nuts on it at all. We finally did get the transmission all installed and the engine raised and properly aligned, but we're left with one big question that actually comes from this picture that we took when we first bought the boat and had it out for an inspection. It appears to us that the shaft doesn't go in the stern tube very straight, and there's some sort of lump underneath the or raising the cutlass bearing bracket. So there might be some funny business going on here, and this is something we're going to try to take care of this fall when we have the boat out of the water again. So good luck to us. And if you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. Happy sailing and happy repairs.